champions, I welcome you all to Masterstroke series, where today we are going to complete the next chapter of PU1, that is Morphology of flowering plants, my dear children. Now, as you might be knowing, I have picked those chapters from your NCERT PU1 that gives short 1 or 2 questions each and every year in KCET examination. So, I'm not going in the order of NCERT, but just in the order of importance. Yeah, so we have completed Animal Kingdom and Body Fluids and Circulation, and now we are here with Morphology of flowering plants, which is again a very important chapter. So those of you who do not like plants much, today is the right time to love plants, my dear children, because we are going to deal with a little bit of botany this time, not zoology. So even I personally am not very fond of botany because I have done my specialization in zoology, but still with the little likeness I have for botany, I think I can make you also like botany a bit. So let's get into the world of plants, my dear children. The first thing that we have is roots. So roots are what? The plant's underground superheroes, my dear children. So you know dicots and monocots are there. Okay, dicots means the one that have 2 cotyledons. The cotyledons are the one that will be providing nourishment for the embryo within, so that it can give rise to the shoot and the root. So in the case of dicots, the radical which is there, it grows into a primary root. So you know, if we talk about an embryo has plumule, which gives rise to the shoot, and there is a radical region that gives rise to the basically root. So here in the case of dicots, the radical grows into what? One primary root, and from this primary root you will be getting secondary roots, lateral roots, my dear children, which are going to be formed. And when you hit a structure like this, which looks like this, my dear children, where there is a primary root and then lateral branches coming off from it, that is lateral roots coming off from it, you will now call this as taproot system. And you can see this in mustard. Mustard is what? A dicot. So mustard, if you try to break it, it's very small to know, but still if you try to break it, you can get 2 cotyledons out there, okay, which is why it is considered to be a dicot. So dicots always have what? Taproot system. Okay, so how do I remember it? I don't know if it will be helpful. Doctors. So D for dicots and T for taproot. Doctors. Okay, somehow you remember it that way. And now monocots. Here the primary root is short-lived. Okay, the primary root that you see is short-lived. Instead, what happens? It is replaced by many roots from the stem base, forming a fibrous root system. So they do not have a primary root. Instead, the primary root which is there, it is getting replaced, and now you have multiple roots arising. Okay, you have multiple roots arising, forming what? The fibrous root system. Where do you find in monocots? Example is what? Wheat. Wheat, can you break it down into 2? Because it does not have 2 cotyledons, it just has 1 cotyledon, my dear children. Now you have something that is known as adventitious roots. What do you mean by that? If roots are not arising from this particular position, that is usually from the base of the stem you get the roots, right? But suppose the roots are arising from somewhere else. Okay, so you call these roots as adventitious roots. So some plants like grass, monstera and banyan, okay, grow roots from unexpected places. Okay, so these roots would be known as adventitious roots. So dicots, my dear children, they would be having taproot system. Okay, monocots, my dear children, will be having what? Fibrous root system. Okay, fibrous root system. Dicot example is mustard, and monocot example is what? Wheat, which is a monocot. Okay, sorry, fibrous root example is what? Basically a wheat. Now going ahead, adventitious roots, as I told you, roots from unexpected place, a different place apart from the normal places, will be known as what? Adventitious roots. Where do you find it? Grass, monstera and banyan. Now what are the superpowers or the functions of roots, my dear children? It absorbs water and minerals. I hope you know that. From the soil, it will be absorbing water and water and minerals. Apart from that, don't you think for the plant to stay at one particular place, there should be someone holding it, right? Like that. So it provides anchorage. It anchors the plant firmly in the soil. It will anchor the plant what? Firmly in the soil. Now the third thing, it stores extra food. So you might have seen in some plants, my dear, for example, carrot. What is carrot, my dear children? The carrot is nothing but the primary root which is getting modified. Okay, this primary root is getting modified for what? Storage of things. So it stores extra food there, and also sweet potato. We learned the example of sweet potato. That is also a root that is getting modified for storage. Yeah, it helps in plant growth by producing what? Hormones, that is plant growth regulators as well. Okay, so absorption of nutrients, anchorage, storage of important extra food, and helps in what? Plant growth by producing what? The hormones, that is plant growth regulators. I hope this is clear. Yeah, this particular slide is paka clear. Now going ahead with the next thing, regions of the root. So root also have different regions, my dear children. Okay, the underground workforce, let's see that. So the root cap that you see, so root is protected by a root cap. Why, my dear children? Because the root has to get inside the soil, and when it gets inside the soil, there are chances that the soil could be rough, there could be what, grittles over there, and it could get damaged. So to protect it, we have a root cap. And in your NCERT, the word that is given is, it is a thimble-like structure. So I'll request you to go into Google Chrome and search what is thimble. Okay, so thimble was used initially for like while sweeping. There was a structure like this with lots of holes. You might not understand it if I draw it, okay, which is why I told you that please go to your Google and check it. So it is nothing but a thimble-like structure at the tip of the root, which provides it what? Protection. It protects the delicate root apex as it pushes through the soil, acts like a helmet for the root. Okay, now what do you mean by region of meristematic activity? So basically, just after the root cap, you have a region of meristematic activity. Meristem activity means these cells would be having high capacity to basically divide themselves. So they are located just above the root cap. They are made up of tiny thin-walled cells. Why do you think thin-walled? Because if they are thick-walled, it will take lots of time to divide. If they are thin-walled, little amount of time will be there for division. So thin-walled cells with what? Dense protoplasm. They are filled with much more amount of what? Protoplasm, which would be helping them in what? Basically providing nourishment for themselves. So when the protoplasm divides, you get more cells, you get it. So they are thin-walled and they have dense cytoplasm. These cells divide continuously, helping in what? Root growth. With the help of this division, my dear children, the root is continuously what? Growing. So region of meristematic tissues comes the first, okay, after the root cap. Now the second thing, the second region that you have is region of elongation. What is happening over here? So the cells over here, my dear children, are going to elongate. The cells that are over here, they are going to elongate and enlarge. What does this elongation do? When it elongates, my dear children, don't you think the root is also getting elongated? Yes. So can I say it is responsible for increasing the length of the root? Yes, it is responsible for increasing the length of the root. That is region of elongation, the growth booster. The cells in the region undergo rapid elongation and what? Enlargement. Now the fourth or the third region that you have is region of maturation. Now they are mature. Okay, now no more division, no more thing, they are going to get matured. So over here, where the magic happens, the cell differentiates and matures. Now differentiates means it now has a particular property to do. Until apart from division, they have a particular specific property to do. That is mentioned over here. So cell differentiates and mature into specialized function. Into what? Specialized functions, my dear children. Some epidermal cells, that is the outer cells, my dear children, form delicate root hairs as well. As you can see over here, they might form what? Delicate root hair as well. Now root hairs absorb water and minerals from the soil like tiny straws. Root hair, what they will be doing, they will be taking in some amount of water from the soil that is around them. Okay, so we have root cap, then the region of maturation, where you region of meristematic region, meristematic tissues, where the cells are continuously dividing. These cells are thin-walled and they have dense cytoplasm, so they can be divided and can be evenly distributed among all the cells which are there. Yeah, and there is region of elongation, where the cell are going to enlarge and elongate. Okay, and they are responsible for increasing the length of the root. Then you have region of maturation, where the cells are finally going to get matured, they are going to get differentiated. That means they are going to have a particular job to do, okay, function to do. And some epidermal cells which are there, they are slowly going to form some delicate root hairs as well. So root hairs absorbs what? Water and minerals from the soil like tiny straws. Works. So these are the regions of the root. Now we have the stem. What do you mean by the stem? So stem is basically the upward hero that you have. So unlike roots that grow downwards, the stem is going to grow upwards, my dear children. It will bear branches, it will bear leaves, flowers and fruits like a plant's main highway. So it is born from the plumule. I told you there is plumule region and there is what? Radical region. From radical region you get the root, okay. From plumule region you are going to get the shoot. So it develops from the plumule of the embryo during what? Germination. There are nodes and internodes that are the building blocks. What do you mean by that? So if you see over here, if you see the plant, there will be certain region from here and here. These are the nodes. These are the nodes. So sorry, wait. I'll show you properly. So suppose this is a stem. You see, there might be certain markings over here. So these things that you see over here, they are the nodes. And in between the nodes, the space that is there, it is known as internode. it will be known as internode. So node is where the leaves will be growing, because they would be having small buds and everything like that, and internodes are the space between the two nodes. Now what are buds? Buds are the tiny powerhouses. So there are different type of buds. One is terminal bud, okay, which is at the tip, my dear children, which will be found at the tip, and there are axillary buds which are arranged towards the axil, found in the leaf axil. As in, suppose there is a leaf over here. At this particular point you will be finding one small bud. This is known as axillary bud. This will be known as axillary bud. Now this axillary bud, my dear children, it can be grown into branches or it can be grown into flowers as well. So you studied that in a stem you have nodes. Those are the regions from the leaves where the leaves arises, yeah, and in the nodes you might be having leaves, but along with the leaves you would also be having axillary buds which can give either rise to a branch or probably a flower later on. These are axillary buds. If it is at terminal position, you call them terminal buds. Now young stems are usually green for photosynthesis, my dear children. They also contribute in the process of photosynthesis. As they mature, they often turn woody and what? Dark brown in color. Now what are the superpowers of the stem? It spreads out branches holding the leaves, flowers and fruits, okay. In that way, basically when it spreads out, enough amount of sunlight and everything is received and they can do photosynthesis properly. That is the use of spreading out. Second thing, transport of water and minerals, because this is through the stem and the roots, basically the xylem and the phloem can easily move around and transport the things, my dear children. That is water and minerals. Along with that you have food also. So food is delivered with the help of phloem, which is there inside the stem, and water and minerals are transported with the help of xylem, which is inside the stem, okay, not the cell. If I said cell, please sorry, I meant stem, okay. Now some stems store food such as potato and ginger. Yeah, potato is what? Modified stem. Sweet potato, my dear children, it's modified root, as I told you earlier. Now some provide support, that is vines, and even help in what? Vegetative propagation. Yes, they also help in what? Vegetative propagation. For example, you might have seen in rows and all, you can cut and put it back, put it in another soil and they will grow from there. Okay, so basically the shoots, the stem which is there, it is also acting as a way of what? Vegetative propagation. That is, without sexual reproduction also you can give rise to more plants, and you can do this with vegetative propagation, and that can be done with the help of a stem. So you get the stem from the plumule, my dear children. They have nodes and internodes, and they would definitely have buds also. Buds can be in terminal position or axillary position. Axillary buds are found basically at the base of the leaf, okay, and these axillary buds, my dear children, can be growing out into branches or basically flowers, either way, and these are the functions that we have. Okay, now we have the leaf. Again, the most important part. What is the leaf? The green powerhouse of the plant. So leaf is basically a flattened wonder. Over here you have a lateral flat substructure growing from the stem, develops at the node. Yes, it will be developing at the node, my dear children, and has an axillary bud, and will be having what? An axillary bud which can give rise to branch or flower. Okay, now born from the shoot tip. So leaves originate from the shoot apical meristem. So you know what? At the shoot, at the tip, my dear children, you have so many meristematic cells. Just like how you have meristematic cells in the root tip, yeah, we studied, right, region of meristems. Similarly, you would be having shoot apical meristem. Okay, and the leaves basically are going to originate from the shoot apical meristem itself. Okay, and it's not like they are just found at the apical region, they can be distributed throughout. So basically from them you get the leaves. So they are going to be arranged in an acropetal order. What do you mean by acropetal order? Acropetal means the younger leaves are going to be at the top and the older ones are going to be at the bottom region. That is how usually the leaves are arranged. Now parts of a typical leaf. So leaf, my dear children, it has a leaf base. It will be having a base that attaches the leaf to the stem, may have stipules, that is tiny leaf-like thing. So as you can see over here, there are tiny leaves that you can find at this leaf base that you have. Okay, now there is a petiole. Now there is a petiole, the stalk that holds the leaf makes it flutter in the wind. Okay, so basically over here, this is a petiole that will be actually acting as a stalk that connects it with the node or the base and that particular leaf as a whole. Okay, now you have lamina. This whole thing that you see from here to here, this is known as lamina, the leaf blade. Okay, the main green broad part where the photosynthesis actually happens, it is known as lamina. So what do you have, children? You have the leaf base. At the leaf base you would be having the stipule. You can have the stipule, which is like the small tiny leaf like structures, and then you have a petiole, which is a stalk like structure, and then you have a flattened thing that is known as lamina, where the photosynthesis actually occurs. Now there is one very important thing that you should be knowing, is that leaf base have special features in special type of plants. So in monocots which has one cotyledon, for example wheat, rice and everything, the leaf base, it expands into a sheath covering the stem. So over here you can see the leaf base, my dear children, it is like a sheath, and this sheath, my dear children, covers the stem. So I thought I'll bring you a picture, in that way you can understand better. Yeah, so in monocots it is expanding into a sheath covering the stem. You can just imagine the wheat plant or the rice plant. It will be easy for you to remember in that way. In some legumes, it swells up and forms pulvinus. So what happens is that in some legumes such as pea and all, over here bean and all, there will be pulvinus being formed, and then there will be petiole or whatever you have. So there is a swollen base. There is a swollen base. This is nothing but the leaf base only, but it has got swollen, and now its name is what? Pulvinus. Its name is what? Pulvinus that you have. So these are the two special things that happens to the leaf base in two different type of plants. Now we have veins and the midrib, my dear children, the leaves transport system. So what is veins and midrib do? So midrib is the central, oh it's not here, okay, anyways it is the central prominent vein. So for example, if you see a leaf over here, if I make something like this, this will be known as what? Midrib. It will be what? The central prominent vein, and basically there will be veins and veinlets arising from it. They are going to give strength, and also they are going to help in the transport of water and minerals, my dear children, and also food. Okay, so what are the different parts of the leaf that we have? We have leaf base, okay, which forms into a sheet in monocot and gets swollen in the case of leguminous plants. Okay, then we have a petiole, which is a stalk-like structure, and always remember the leaf base can have stipules, which are leaf-like structures as well. And then after the petiole comes what? The broad region, which is known as lamina. Cool. Now in the lamina or in the leaf, my dear children, you have main vein, or that is known as midrib, and then apart from that you will be having lateral vein and veinlets which would be helping in the transport of water, food and nutrients and everything. Done? Cool? Yes. Now going ahead with venation. So what do you mean by venation? It is the arrangement of veins and veinlets in the leaf plate. So venation means arrangement of veins and the veinlets in the leaf plate. The pattern it is arranged. Okay, so it's like roads in a city. Veins transport water, minerals and the food. So type of venation, you have two type, my dear children. One is reticulate and the other one is parallel. Okay, one is reticulate and the other one is parallel. Yes, this is how I remember. Doctor. So dicots have taproot system and also they have reticulate venation, and the opposite of it will be obviously for monocots. Okay, so reticulate venation means there will be midrib, definitely there is midrib, from here comes the lateral veins, and from them come the veinlets and everything like that. This is what reticulate venation. They have more branches. But if you see parallel venation, it's like there is a midrib and parallelly there will be so many veins moving like this. Okay, so which one among this do you think you find in mango and all? In mango, which one of this is found? Tell me. So over here, actually in the case of mango, you can find reticulate venation. Go check the leaf. Okay, so reticulate venation, it's like web-like network is there. Veins and veinlets forms a net-like pattern found in what? Dicot plants. I already told you over here, dicot plants, they have what? Reticulate venation. Example is mango and people. So the mango plant I was telling you, if you see, you will understand it's showing reticulate venation, and it is found in mango and people plant also. Now parallel venation. So with this you get an idea that mango and people are also coming under what? Dicots. In them also there are two cotyledons, my dear children. If you see the seed, you can break it down into two. That means they are dicots. Okay. Now parallel venation is straight and neat. Veins run parallel to each other, found in what? Monocots. Again, example. These examples are really important. Grass, banana and coconut. Grass, banana and coconut. They are all monocots, and there you will be finding parallel venation, my dear children. Cool? Works? Okay, if you have seen the banana, it has parallel like this, but still it has parallel venation. Okay, now if you see leaf with reticulate venation, it's probably from a dicot plant. If it has parallel venation, it's likely a monocot. Please remember that as well. So what is venation? It's the arrangement of veins and veinlets in the leaf plate. And type of venation, reticulate and you have parallel. Reticulate is where basically it's a web-like network you find in in dicots, that is mango and people and everything. And in the case of Parallel venation you can find in grass, banana, coconut. Always remember, if you try just to remember the names of the plants, you might not be able to understand it or keep it with you for a long run. So you have to relate and learn. Always remember that. So look for the things, features that you can remember. Mango, if the seed I break, I get into two, so that's a dicot and things like that. Okay, coconut, you cannot, don't think that coconut you can break into two like this. No, inside that, my dear children, you cannot break the cotyledons. There is only one cotyledon which is there. Okay. Actually, there is endosperm which is there mostly. Okay, I don't want to confuse you. Anyways, with the features that you remember, if you see the leaf of the coconut plant, you will understand that they show what? Parallel venation. Yes, and if they are showing parallel venation, then they are what? Monocots. Cool. So this is the thing that you need to know. Now going ahead with the types of leaf. Yes, there are different types of leaf that you should be knowing. There is simple leaf where there is one piece leaf, whole lamina is unbroken. Yeah, the whole lamina, my dear children, if the leaf is like this, the whole lamina is unbroken. Okay, if incised also, the cuts do not reach the midrib. If it is incised also, the cut is not going to reach the midrib. I will call this leaf as what? Simple leaf. Where can I find it? Again in mango, guava and all, I can find this type of leaf. It is not cut in any sense. Okay, just full, complete one leaf, proper leaf which is there. Okay, now, when you talk about compound leaves, what happens over here? So lamina which is there, my dear children, the whole lamina which is there, it is divided into small leaflets. It is what? Divided into small leaflets, as you can see over here. This is an example of compound leaves. This is also an example of compound leaves. So the whole lamina should have been like this, but it is now divided into what? Small leaflets. Those are what? Compound leaves. So there is an important information over here. But wait, no buds in the axil of leaflets. Okay, so remember always, there won't be any bud in the axil of leaflets, only in the petiole it will be there. So for example, if I suppose, okay, we just studied that under the leaf, my dear children, you would be having axillary bud, right? But in this case, where the leaf itself is dividing, do you think each leaflets will be having axils of their own? No, that would not be the case. You will have one axil at the base of the petiole. At the base of the petiole, my dear children, you would be having one axil, that's all. In compound leaf as well. In compound leaf. Okay, there will be axil, there will be bud, but not with each and every leaflet that you are having. So a bud is present in the axil of the petiole in both simple and compound leaves, but not in the axil of the leaflets, that is the smaller leaves that you are having. Okay, now the types of compound leaves. In compound leaf, again there are different types. First thing, we have simple leaf where there is a leaf, my dear children, it has undergone nothing. There is one proper midrib and things like that. If there is incision also, it has not touched the midrib, it's just like that. Okay, it is just like that. For example, it has a shape like this, but it is just like that. There is one prominent midrib over here. Okay, you can see this in mango, guava and things like that. Now you have compound leaf where what is happening? The leaf is divided into small chutku leaflets. Okay, chutku leaflets. Now will these leaflets have buds? No. Okay, all of them together, they are connected with the help. All of them will be connected with the help of a petiole, my dear children. At the base of the petiole, you will be having a bud. Over here, you can have a bud. That is fine. Now, in the compound leaves that you are having, it can be again divided into pinnately compound and palmately compound. Okay, pinnately compound means many leaflets are arranged along a central stalk, that is rachis, okay, which represents the midrib of the leaf. So this is going to represent the midrib of the leaf, my dear children. It is also known as rachis or rachis, whatever you want to say, you can say. It is along the central stalk. This is the central stalk, that is rachis, and along it you have so many leaflets arranged like this. You have so many leaflets arranged like this. Now on the other hand, suppose over here all of the leaflets are not lately arranged, they are just here at one particular place as a bunch. Okay, at a single point they are there. You will call it as palmately compound. So just like our palm. So all the fingers are there on the palm, which is white, is known as palmately compound leaf, my dear children. So all the leaves, they are separate. All the palms also, all the fingers also, they are separate, but attached to what? One palm that you can see over here. So all leaflets attached at a single point like fingers on a palm. Example is silk cotton. So this is what? Silk cotton, which shows palmately compound leaf. On the other hand, you have pinnately compound leaf, which you can find in what? Neem. Okay, you can find that in neem. I hope that is clear. That is also clear. Okay, so simple leaf done. Compound leaf, where basically the leaves is dividing into small leaflets and they are arranged in different patterns. If they are arranged laterally along the central axis, that is known as rachis, it is known as pinnately compound leaf. And if basically, and the midrib, the rachis which is there, it is acting as midrib, okay, remember that. And suppose the leaflets are arranged at one particular single point, okay, all of them arranged at a single point, you will call it as palmately compound leaf. Example is silk cotton. Example will be what? Silk cotton. Works? Done? Cool. Now, going ahead. Phyllotaxy. What do you mean by phyllotaxy, my dear children? So, phyllotaxy is the arrangement of leaf on the stem. Okay, now we are not talking about one leaf. Okay, we are not, in the case of neem and all, we were basically talking about this thing. So, over here, you find leaves like that, again leaves like that. Now, or basically, yeah, I don't want to confuse you. Okay, in that case, we were talking about a single leaf. How does it look? Okay, the leaves can be divided into smaller parts like this in compound, or it can be simple leaf like the one I showed you earlier. Now we are talking about how these leaves are arranged on the plant, my dear, on the stem. So phyllotaxy refers to the pattern of leaf arrangement on a stem or basically a branch. It is again categorized into three parts, that is alternate phyllotaxy, opposite phyllotaxy and walled phyllotaxy. What is alternate phyllotaxy? As the name suggests, so over here in the case of China rose and all, you might have seen how they are arranged, the leaves, how they are arranged. If one is there over here in one node, in next node it will be there. Okay, again here, again here. So alternatively they are arranged. So this is seen in the case of China rose and also mustard and also sunflower. So CMS. So Chief Minister is special, you can remember like that, but please remember what is Chief Minister over here. So it is China rose, mustard and what? Sunflower. That show alternate phyllotaxy. Now you have opposite phyllotaxy. Opposite phyllotaxy, as you can see over here in guava. In one node on the opposite sides, both the sides you have leaves. On both the sides you have what, my dear children? You have leaves. So two leaves grow at each node lying opposite to each other. Example, guava and calotropis. Okay, guava and calotropis, CG or GC, whatever you want to remember, you can remember. Calotropis and guava. Now, walled phyllotaxy is when at one particular node, it's not just two leaf, you would be having multiple leaves arranged. As you can see over here, multiple leaves are arranged like this. This is known as walled phyllotaxy. So, more than two leaves arise from a single node, forming what? A whorl. Example is Alstonia. Okay, Alstonia, that is a bit different and probably a little difficult, but yes, my dear children, you can definitely do it. Okay, so phyllotaxy is what? Leaf arrangement on the stem or the branch. Leaf arrangement on the stem or the branch. You have three types. One is alternate phyllotaxy, second is opposite phyllotaxy, and the third one is walled phyllotaxy. Alternate means at one node, alternately in one node there will be one leaf, the next node there will be one leaf. Again it goes like this. Okay, you can see in this in China rose and also sunflower and also mustard. CMS, Chief Minister Special. Okay, now opposite phyllotaxy, you can see, I know I do overacting at time, but okay. So basically over here what happens, opposite to the in each node, opposite to it you will be having leaves. Okay, opposite, facing towards each other. Okay, so leaves grow at each node lying opposite to each other. You can find in calotropis and guava. And what? Guava. Okay, now we have walled phyllotaxy where more than one leaf is there arising from a single node forming a whorl. This is found in Alstonia. Alstonia. All of them. All you can remember Alstonia. Either way. So so many of them are there. Now you have the inflorescence, my dear children. Inflorescence as in the flowers, how they are arranged. So flower, you know, is a modified shoot. I hope you know that. I hope you know a flower is what? A modified shoot, meaning that it originates from the same meristematic region that produces stems and the leaves. So where did we get the stems and the leaves from? The shoot apical meristem, right? From them only we get what? The flower also. However, when shoot apical meristem transforms into floral meristem, several key changes occur. So when the shoot apical meristematic cells are now going to categorize into floral meristematic cells, my dear, there are a few changes that is going to occur. In a flower, internodes do not elongate. So if you see a flower, my dear children, there what happens? The center node is not going to elongate, there will be less space, okay. So hence the floral parts are going to be closely packed to each other. The apex produces different kinds of floral appendages laterally at successive nodes instead of leaves. So the apex, it produces what? Different types of floral appendages rather than how it does in the case of leaves. That is not very much important, at least this, if you remember, it's fine. Now, inflorescence refers to the arrangement of flowers on a floral axis. In an axis, how is it arranged? So we have two things. One is racemose inflorescence and the second one is cymose inflorescence. Okay. So in racemose inflorescence, as you can see over here, my dear children, there is a main axis that continues. Okay, there is a main axis that is basically continuing. There is no, it is not terminated with a flower. The axis is mainly continuing. What is happening? The flowers are generating laterally. The flowers are generating what? Laterally. And I'll tell you one more thing. You will be finding young flowers at the top and old flowers at the bottom. Same thing when it happened in the case of leaves also. The young flowers at the top and the older ones at the bottom. What do you call it? You call it acropetal succession. Okay, you call it acropetal succession. So flowers are here. First thing, the main axis continues to grow. Yes, as you can see over here in this particular plant, racemose inflorescence is there, and flowers are arranged in acropetal succession. That means older flowers at the base and younger towards the tip region that you will find. Now, example is mustard and gulmohar. Please remember it. You have mustard and gulmohar. Here also we saw mustard. Right, in alternate phyllotaxy also we saw mustard. So please imagine a mustard plant having alternate flowers like this, sorry, alternate leaves like this, and then please imagine it to have flowers which are showing what? Racemose inflorescence. That means the stem is just going and then they have flowers at the lateral side, not at the tip. Okay, so mustard and gulmohar, they show racemose inflorescence and also alternate phyllotaxy. Now cymose inflorescence is basically where the central axis that you can see, my dear children, it is terminated with a flower. As you can see, the central axis is terminated with a flower and they also have lateral branches. But there is something else, that is they show basipetal succession. What do you mean by basipetal succession? That means the older flowers are at the top and the younger flowers are at the bottom. Okay, the older flowers at the top and the younger flowers are at the bottom. So younger flowers at the base, okay, at the base, and the older flowers towards the tip. This is known as basipetal order. Okay, example jasmine and teak. I guess it is not given in your NCERT, so do not have to learn this. At least this you have to remember. Okay, cool, works. Does it work for you, my dear children? Okay, so these are the two type of inflorescence, that is the arrangement of flowers on the floral axis. On the floral axis, how it is arranged. So either the axis can be freely growing in the case of racemose, or it can be terminated with a flower as in the case of cymose. In the case of racemose, you have acropetal succession, young ones at the top and the older ones at the bottom because they cannot climb up. But in the case of cymose, they are very adamant. Okay, so basically there you will find young ones at the top and the older ones. Wait, at the young ones at the base and the older ones at the top. That is why they are adamant. Or probably they are kind of, the older ones are kind of dominating. We are the good ones. Probably in that. Either way, you want to remember it as a story. Cruel story, a good story, that is your choice. It's your part of the story, okay? But you can remember it whatever way you want to. Now talking about the flower. So my dear children, flower, it has multiple parts. One is calyx, you also call it as sepal, which is the green part that you have. It basically protects the bud. It basically protects the bud, which will be green in color. And then you have corolla, which are basically what? Which are basically the petals that you are having. Okay, you have petals. These petals will be known as what? Corolla. And then you would be having androecium. Androecium is what? The male reproductive organ, and then you would be having gynoecium, which is what? The female reproductive organ with stigma, style and ovary and everything out there. Now my my flower looks really bad, which is why I am removing this guy. Okay, so calyx is sepals, nothing but sepals. It protects the bud. Okay, corolla are the petals, they attract the pollinators. Androecium is the male reproductive part, and gynoecium, you also call it as carpel or pistil, it is the female reproductive part. Okay, now in flowers like lily, calyx and corolla are not distinct and together form the perianth. Please remember it, which is why I marked it in yellow color. Okay, so in lily, my dear children, please remember lily. Okay, the calyx and corolla, they are not distinct. That means you cannot differentiate between them. Instead, they are together, and you call it as perianth. Okay, you call it as perianth. Now types of flowers, my dear children, you have two types. One is bisexual flower and the other one is unisexual flower. What do you mean by that? Bisexual has both androecium and gynoecium. Okay, the both male and the female part. Example, hibiscus or hibiscus. Okay, they are bisexual flowers. Unisexual flowers, as in they just have either stamen or it will be having the carpel. Example, papaya and watermelon. PW. So you might be remembering about coaching institute, but that is how I make you remember it. Okay, so basically I'll give you one example for bisexual. So hibiscus and mustard. H&M. H&M, probably a shopping complex, you might be knowing it. Yeah, it's a brand, not shopping complex, but yeah. So H&M and also PW. PW is that unisexual flowers, either male or the female flowers would be there. Here in the case of bisexual flower, either androecium or gynoecium will be there. Cool. Now we have flower symmetry. Now certain flowers, my dear children, they can, if you cut them from any angle, you will get two equal halves. Okay, you can get two equal halves. So they are known as actinomorphic. Okay, they are very active. Okay, you can remember like that. Actinomorphic. Where do you find it? Mustard. Again, so many examples of mustard. So until now we have seen that it shows alternate phyllotaxy, racemose, inflorescence. They have bisexual flowers and now they are actinomorphic also. They are very active. Okay, so they are mustard, datura and chili. Mustard, datura and chili, my dear children. So almost mustard and chili used for cooking. Okay, and datura is basically a drug that causes hallucination. So I should not be including in cooking, but yes. Okay, everything is edible in that sense. Okay, so the mustard, datura and chili, my dear children, they are actinomorphic, that is they show radial symmetry. Now zygomorphic, very important. The examples can be given and you might be asked which type of symmetry do they show. So you should be knowing it. So zygomorphic, that means it can be divided into two equal halves only in one vertical plane. Only through one particular, that means they are bilaterally symmetrical. Only through one particular plane you can divide them into two equal halves, not more than one. So P, gulmohar, bean and cassia comes under that. How do you remember it? I don't know. PG, BC. Okay, either way you remember. Okay, so this is the thing. Should I do PG or should I do bachelors? Either way. Okay, so it is basically P and gulmohar and then B and cassia that you are having. It comes under zygomorphic. Listen, my dear children, from here starts the important part of for KCET. From here the questions have come. From this part onwards the questions have come. From the things that I have taught you until now, so many questions have not been framed. Okay, please understand that I am being very honest over here. So please make sure you are practicing this things and also examples, which is why I am stressing on examples. Okay, so zygomorphic in P, gulmohar, bean and cassia. Now asymmetric is where you cannot cut a flower from any angle into equal halves. Cannot be divided into equal halves from any angle. Example, canna. Example what? Canna. So canna says I can do it, but it does not. Okay, so it cannot. Yes, canna cannot. Okay, it cannot be cut. Canna. That means it cannot be cut. It is asymmetric flower. Okay, I hope children you are not dying seeing my skills over here, but it's just for you to remember. And either way, even I am also basically trying to engage you, because you know it's not very interesting to teach something that you probably might not be very much interested in. You know, when you have interest, you try to keep on hung up and you just stay there. But you do not have interest, then it goes off. So yeah, I don't think there are so many plant enthusiasts, but if there are, I am so happy for them. Do let me know in the comment section whether this thing is helping you or not. Okay, so actinomorphic, they are very active. They are going to get divided from any plane, my region. Mustard, datura and chili is the one. Okay, zygomorphic, P, then you have gulmohar, then you have bean and then cassia. Then asymmetric, cannot be cut, so canna. Okay, so these are the things that you need to know. Now you have, based on floral parts arrangement, there are certain things, again you have to remember these things, that is trimeris, tetrameris and pentameris. What do you mean by that? Floral parts in multiples of 3. Trimeris you call when the floral parts are in the multiple of 3. For example, calyx 3, corolla 3, androecium 3, and this and 3, everything is 3. You can find that in the case of monocots. You can find that in the case of monocots. Pentameris, as in the floral parts will be in the multiple of 5. Where do you find that? Usually in the case of dicots. So dicots, pentameris. Okay, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my god. Okay, let's include just dicot. Okay, let's just include dicot. So over here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 letters are there. So floral parts are also in the multiples of 5. Monocots, my dear children, they are tetramerous. That floral parts is a multiple of 6. For example, monocot. Monocot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are. Okay, let me not use my brain. Let it be like this only. Okay, so monocots are the one that shows the floral parts arrangement in the multiples of 3. Whereas here it is 5. Now tetramerous as in 4. Floral parts in the multiples of 4 is also seen in some type of plants as well. Cool. Now we have types of flower based on ovary position. That is, you know, in the case of the gynoecium, this is the structure. So there is style, there is stigma, and there is ovary over here. Right. So on the base of the position of the ovary, you can basically define different type of flowers. One is hypogynous, then there is perigynous, and there is epigynous. Okay. So hypogynous as in superior ovary is there. Gynoecium at the highest position. So over here, as you can see, okay, if you can see this particular picture, again very important thing. Okay. So over here it's above the petals, the sepals, everything, even the androecium. At the top you have what? The gynoecium. But there, this is known as hypogynous arrangement. Okay, this is known as hypogynous arrangement. Now the next one is, you can see this is mustard, China rose and brinjal. Again I am telling you, this mustard is a real big culprit. Okay, mustard is everywhere. The first example of everything is mustard. So mustard, China rose and brinjal, you can remember it as maths, chemistry and biology, if you want. Okay, so maths, chemistry and biology, that is mustard, China rose and brinjal, they show hypogynous, that is superior. So they have superior ovary, or gynoecium is at the highest position. Now you have perigynous thing, that is half inferior ovary. Gynoecium is in the center, other parts at the same level. So as you can see over here, the gynoecium and the other parts almost they are all in the same level. So I will call this as perigynous. It can be either this or this. Can be either this or this. If you see the whole thing. So almost up at the same level. You can see it in plum, rose and peach. Plum, rose and peach. All of it, they are like good, giving good feelings. Okay, plum, rose and peach. Okay, so they are showing perigynous nature of flower, also the ovary position. So it is half inferior ovary, my dear children. Gynoecium is in the center and other parts at the same level. Now you have epigynous. Okay, epigynous means the ovary, my dear children, over here it is inferior. Inferior, it is what? Ovary completely enclosed by the thalamus. So this is a thalamus on the top of which the gynoecium rests, but over here you see the ovary which is there, my dear children, the ovary which is there, it is totally enclosed in the thalamus, and other parts are basically above it. Other parts will be basically above it. You can see in the case of guava, cucumber and sunflower. Guava, cucumber and sunflower. So sunflower oil we use, and cucumber and guava we eat. Okay, this is a fruit. Okay, this is a fruit, and that's a vegetable, and that is basically what? Fruit, not vegetable actually, it's again this thing only, fruit only, and then you have sunflower. Let's not confuse each other. So guava, cucumber and sunflower, you try to remember it like that only. Epigynous means basically inferior ovary. Ovary is completely enclosed by the thalamus. Okay, then you have perigynous thing, that is half inferior ovary, gynoecium is in the center and other parts are in the same level. And hypogynous, that is this China rose and then mustard and brinjal, you can find it. Very, very important things. Okay, very, very, very important things. Now, going ahead with the next thing, that is calyx and the corolla. So calyx is the outermost wall, I already told you. It's the outermost wall, yeah, right. So when the flower is in the bud stage, it covers the whole thing. So the individual units of the calyx are known as sepal. Yeah, the calyx is a whole thing, a whole, right? If you talk about each of them who make up this whole, we call it as a sepal. Now sepals are what? Generally green, leaf-like, and protect the flower in the bud stage. In the bud stage, we are going to protect it. The calyx can be of two types, gamosepalous and sepalous, and then polysepalous. What do you mean by that? Basically, gamosepalous means the sepals are united. They are like this. They are together. The sepals, my dear children, they do not have any division between them. Polysepalous means what? The sepals are free. So they are not attached to each other. They will be attached to the thalamus but not to each other. That is polysepalous. Okay, gamo means together. Poly means separate. Okay, now corolla. Corolla consists of what? Petals, my dear children. And why do we need petals? For attracting the pollinators. Again, the petals can also be gamopetalous, that is petals are united. Example, bell-shaped or tubular flowers. Yeah, bell-shaped flowers you might be seeing. They have the petals like this. They are all together, my dear children. They look like this, and they are all basically together. The petals are all together. So you can find in that. And polypetalous, where the petals are free. Example, rose, mustard. You might have seen in rose, he loves me not. That thing happens, right? So rose, my dear children, this is just for you to have entertainment while studying, okay? Don't think I am advising you for something else. Please don't do anything like that, okay? This is polypetalous, but the flowers, basically the petals are what? Loosely arranged, okay? They're free. They are free. So rose, mustard example is this. Petals come in different shapes like tubular, bell-shaped, funnel-shaped and things like that. Usually a mustard always comes in the first example. This time it is coming in the second example, that is polypetalous, because it is wanting to with rose. Okay? Cool. Now, estivation. Again, a very, very, very important thing. What do you mean by estivation? Arrangement of sepals of petals in the buds, my dear children. In the bud. So valvate is when the petals touch each other but do not overlap. As you can see over here, the petals are touching over here, and this is how it is represented. Okay, they are basically they are touching at the tip, but they are not overlapping. They are not overlapping. They are separate. Okay, this is found in Calotropis. Calotropis is the one that has cardiac glycosides. It has having toxin that can kill any animal that eats it. Okay, so valvate you see in the case of Calotropis. Now you have twisted. What is twisted? Where each petal, my dear children, it is going to overlap the next one. It is going to what? Overlap the next one. Example, China rose, lady's finger, cotton, etc. You can find what? Twisted estivation. Now we have imbricate estivation, where what is happening? There is overlapping, but it does not have any order. There is no order. Over here they are overlapping in a proper order. If you see, one end is going down, other end is going up. But over here, two ends can be inside, two ends can be outside, one end can be outside, one end can be inside, anything. So petals overlap irregularly. That is why it is known as imbricate. I for irregular, I for imbricate. Okay, with no fixed direction. Example, cassia and also gulmohar. Tell me, where did we study example of cassia before? What was it the example of? Cassia was the example of what? Tell me. So imbricate, you find that in cassia, and also gulmohar. Tell me gulmohar's example also. Now vexillary is one large petal which you call as a standard petal. It is going to overlap what? Two lateral petals which are over here, my dear children, as you can see, okay, which are known as wings, and in turn it will be closing another two smaller petals which are known as keel. These two will be known as keel. Example, pea and bean. Example what? Pea and bean. So estivation is the arrangement of sepals, petals in the bud. Okay, you have valvate, where they are not going to touch each other, they are not going to overlap. This is known as, this is found in Calotropis. Then we have twisted, where basically they are going to overlap but only in one particular direction and regular pattern. You can find in China rose, lady's finger and also cotton. Okay, imbricate, where it is totally irregular and they overlap with no fixed direction in cassia and gulmohar. Vexillary, where there is one large petal, that is known as standard, covering two lateral petals, that is wings, which in turn covers another one, that is known as keel, and you find it in pea and bean. You find it in what? Pea and bean, my dear children. This picture can be given to you and you might be asked what type of estivation is this. At that point also you should be knowing the answer. Or you would be given imbricate estivation. You can find it in which plant? Again, you have to tell the name of the plant. I know that is kind of, because when you have so much things to study, it becomes too difficult to remember all of it. Okay, but please try to read, go through it once, or try to relate it by seeing the flowers, picture and things like that. It becomes easy to remember. Okay. Pea and bean both are leguminous. So basically you can see vexillary thing is seen in leguminous plants like pea and bean. You can give examples like that. Okay, China rose, lady's finger, cotton, I don't know, CLC, no, it does not work. Okay. So please go through it once. All of it has a C over here. C, C, C. And then one is P and bean. Cool? So now it's time for studying androecium, but before that I have added one little term over here, that is vexillary estivation is also known as papilionaceous estivation as well. Now one very important thing, listen, you are someone who is studying morphology of flowering plants and you saw so many terms and everything is there. Now when you are going to go ahead, you will see few more terms which would complicate your brain. So I would request you to do one thing, that is pause the video, and what you can do, you know, under the video there is a bar where you can move the, you can move the slider, right? Just move the slider and go through each and every slide once. Have an idea of things and now start studying something new. That is the next set of things, that is androecium, gynoecium and everything. Otherwise, there are higher chances that you might get confused because of the terms which are there. You will feel that after watching this video, I have not studied anything even though I spent so much time. So I don't want you to have that feeling. Even me being a teacher, I almost forgot every examples which I just taught you right now. You get it? So which is why I am telling you, just go through it once more, okay? Just the slider, do not listen to me and all, just the slider, just read the slides once and then come back over here and we will start off with what? Androecium, that is the male reproductive part. So in androecium, what all do we have to study? First thing, androecium consists of what, my dear children? It consists of stamen. I hope you know that. Stamen consists of two parts. One is what? The filament, the stalk-like structure, and then you have the anther, which is bilobed, okay, which is what? Bilobed. It has two lobes, my dear children, and inside the lobes you have what? Pollen sacs. Okay, what do you have? You have pollen sacs which contains lots of pollen grains, my dear children. And what does the pollen grain contain? It contains the male gamete. Remember, the pollen grain itself is not the male gamete. The pollen grain contains the male gamete. So each stamen has two parts: filament, stalk-like structure, and then anther, which is bilobed structure containing what? The pollen sacs producing what? The pollen grains. Now attachment of stamen, from here it becomes important. The terms are really important, okay? So what do you mean by epipetalous? Epipetalous means the stamen which you see, okay, the stamen that you see, it is attached to the petals which are there. It is attached to what? The petal. So I will call this as epipetalous conditions. When the stamen is attached to the petal, I will call this as epipetalous condition. Where do I see it? I see it in brinjal. Okay, I would be seeing this in brinjal. Now, there is epiphyllous condition. What do you mean by that? I told you in the case of lily, what is happening? The calyx, okay, the sepals and basically the corolla, that is the petals, they are all together. They are all together and they are forming a structure which is known as perianth. That is known as perianth. So when the stamen is attached to this perianth, I will call this as epiphyllous condition. Okay, and you find this in same example, that is lily. So epipetalous when the stamen is attached to the petal, epiphyllous when the stamen is attached to the perianth. Okay, you find it in lily. Now, special cases are there. There are chances that the stamen which is there, it is sterile, as it is not going to produce what? The functional pollen grains and things like that. So what do I call this condition as? I will call this condition as staminod condition. Okay, that the stamen is not working. Staminod. Okay, staminod or staminod. Either way, you can remember it. Now, stamens may be free, my dear children. Yes, the stamen guys which are there, they can be free or basically they can be united, clustered together. If they are free, okay, if they are free, you call it polyandrous. Okay, if they are united, you have different types. I am going to talk about that. Okay, so if the stamens are free, you call it polyandrous condition. Okay, polyandrous, that is, there are so many, what say, androecium. That is what you mean by polyandrous. Okay, they are free, they are all free, they are enjoying their life, and there is united also, about which we are going to study. So types of the stamen fusion. One is monodelphous. What do you mean by monodelphous? Where stamens is in one bundle. If you have seen China rose, my dear children, so if you see these things that you see over here, they are the stamen. So all of them are arranged in one particular bundle. Don't think that, ma'am, they're separate. Array, they're arranged on one stalk only, no? They are arranged in one stalk itself. All of them are together. So I'll call this condition as monodelphous condition. Okay, and this is found in what? China rose. You can find this in China rose. Now you have diadelphous condition. What do you mean by that? When the stamen is in two bundles, you call this as diadelphous condition. Again, I have got a picture for you. So over here you see this is a bunch of stamen, and then here you see a separate bunch of, not bunch, basically a single stamen over here, but you can have a bunch also. So when you have two separate bundles like that, you call this as diadelphous condition. Diadelphous condition, you can find it in pea plant. Now there is one more condition, that is polyadelphous condition. Do not get confused with polyadelphous and polyandrous. Polyandrous means they are free, the stamen are not, they are not united at all. Okay, now here they are all fused, they are coming together. Okay, now polyadelphous condition is when stamen in more than two bundles. So as you can see over here, you can find one bundle, second bundle, third bundle, fourth bundle, fifth bundle. So there are so many bundles over there, separate bundles. So you call this as polyadelphous condition. So if you see, all of them are together over here, but in different bundles. Okay, different bundles. So example, you can find it in citrus plants. Now variation in the filament length is also there. Now filament length can be having varying sizes, my dear children. It can be seen in flowers like salvia and mustard. So from this slide, what is the takeaway? The takeaway is that the androgen consists of stamen. Stamen is what? Filament as well as anther. Anther is basically bilobed and it has pollen sacs. Okay. Now, suppose the filament or basically the whole structure, that is the stamen, is attached to a petal. You call this as epipetalous condition. You can find it in brinjal. Now, epiphyllous means the stamen is attached to perianth. Perianth is nothing but calyx and corolla, all of it together, fused condition. Okay. You can find it in lily, and the same thing you can find it in lily as well. That is epiphyllous condition. Now, sterile stamen, if it is there when it is non-functional, you call this as staminod. Okay, you call this as staminod. Now, the stamens, my dear children, if they are free, what do you call it? Polyandrous condition. If they are united, you have different types of fusion, my dear children. One is monadelphous. You can find it in China rose, where all of them, they are in one bundle. Okay, diadelphous when they are in two bundles, and that you can find it in P. And then you have polyadelphous, where you can find them in more than two bundles. More than two bundles, that is this. You can find that in citrus fruits. So I didn't get the exact flowers except the China rose. So please just understand, for your understanding I have put the pictures over here. So variation in filament length is found in flowers like salvia and mustard as well. Got it? Now we are moving ahead for gynoecium. So gynoecium is what? The female reproductive part. Okay. So gynoecium consists of one or basically more than one carpel. What does the one carpel consist of? You call it as carpel or pistil. So carpel consists of a sticky, oh my god, just a second. Yeah, it consists of a sticky stigma, and then there is a style, and then, oh, why is this going on like that? I'm using a very different pen today. Yeah, wait. So this is a stigma, this is the style, and you have the ovary. This is what the ovary. Inside the ovary, you would be having the ovule. Your ovule can be one or it can be multiple, my dear children. The ovule is attached to a placenta which provides it nutrition. Okay. Now, depending on the position of placenta and everything, you have different type of things coming up really soon. But just understand, placenta is there in the ovarian cavity and it provides nourishment to the ovule. Okay. So, basic structure of carpel is that there is an ovary, that is enlarged basal part containing what? The ovule or the ovules, either way. Style, the tube-like structure connecting what? The ovary to the stigma. Stigma is the tip of the style where the pollen grains would be coming and landing. Now, ovules and the placenta. Ovules are attached to a cushion-like structure called the placenta. This is the cushion-like structure that is known as placenta. Depending on what type of placenta you have different things coming up. Now, after fertilization, ovule will become what? After fertilization means inside the ovule you have the female gamete. The pollen grains would be coming and landing. Inside the pollen grains you have the male gamete. Both of them fuse. Here in the ovule they fuse. Now the ovule will become what? The seed. What about the ovary? It will become the fruit. The ovary becomes the fruit and the ovule becomes the seed. I hope you got that. Okay. Now types of carpels. Apocarpous condition. What do you mean by apocarpous? Here the carpels are free, my dear children. Here the carpels are totally free. Example you can see in lotus, rose and things like that. Now there is syncarpous condition where the carpels basically are going to be fused. Okay. But the carpels are going to be fused. You can see that over here. Here the carpels basically they are fused together. Over here you see they are free. Carpels are what? Free. So apocarpous condition is where carpels are free. You can find in lotus and rose, and also in your NCERT 12th grade. Michelia is an example for this. Michelia is an example for this. And when the carpels are fused, syncarpous, you can find that in apart from mustard and tomato, you can find that in papaware. You can find that in papaware according to your 12th NCERT. Okay, in sexual reproduction flowering plants, you can see this. Okay, got it? So this is about gynoecium. I hope you got it. Works for you? If it works for you, then it works for me. Okay, then we are going ahead. Let me think. I was thinking of something. I think it's done. Yeah. Now we have placentation. What do you mean by placentation? The arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. Okay, what? The arrangement of ovules. Within the ovary you have ovules, right? How are they arranged? That is what you mean by placentation. Okay. Now types of placentation. You have 5 types. First one is marginal placentation. What is happening is that the placenta which is there, it is towards one margin. It is towards one margin. So all the ovules which are, ovules are supported to or linked with placenta because placenta provides nourishment. So all the ovules are also attached to this marginal placenta. So basically, can I say the position of the ovule within the ovary is also marginal? Yes. So placenta forms a ridge along the ventral suture. This is what the ventral suture that you are having, and ovules are arranged in 2 rows. Here only 1 row is represented, but you can have 2 rows. Example, you can find that in the case of P. If you open the P, you can find that basically they are arranged in 2 rows, and basically they are attached to what? One marginal placenta which is there. So placenta forms a ridge along the ventral suture. Ovules are arranged in 2 rows. This is known as marginal placentation. Now you have axile placentation. What happens in axile placentation is this, where basically, my dear children, there is an axis in between. Suppose I am seeing the ovary like this. Okay, the ovary which is there, it is like this. So top view I am seeing. In top view, what will I find? There is an axis in between, and basically suppose this is the ovary in general. I would be having certain septa. I would be having certain septa which would be, let's say, dividing this particular ovule into ovary into different parts. Okay, ovary into different parts. I will call each part as what? The locules. The locule. This is also a locule. The whole part that you see over here, this is locule, my dear children. Here it is free locule, but here you see 1, 2, 3. It is divided into 3 parts. Now, my dear children, what is happening is that I told you that this is the ovary. You have a axis in middle, and then septum is there. Now, where are our ovules? Ovules are arranged around here. The ovules, my dear children, they are arranged around the axis. You call this condition as axile placentation. Okay, you call this as axile placentation. So placenta is in the center, and ovules are attached in a multilocular ovary. Multilocular as in there are different locules, 1, 2, 3. So this is multilocular ovary because there are septum, my dear children. Example, you find it in China rose, you find it in tomato, and you find it in lemon. In tomato, it is highly visible. Go check out the tomato. You can clearly see it, how they are arranged. Okay, so this is an example of axile placentation. Okay, this is an example of what? Axile placentation. So if you see the tomato, if you cut like this, if this is a tomato, you cut like this and see from the top, you will be clearly able to see it. Now there is parietal placentation. What do you mean by parietal placentation? Ovules develop on the inner wall of the ovary. So suppose this is the ovary, my dear children, over here you will be finding the ovule. Okay, so parietal on the walls, So ovules develop on the inner wall of the ovary. Ovary is one chambered. Okay, there is only one single chamber, but maybe 2 chambered due to false septum. So there are cases where there is a false septum as well being found. In that case, it becomes what? 2 chambered. That is found in mustard and argemone. Okay. So please remember that in the condition where basically the ovary is usually 1 chambered, but it becomes 2 chambered, appears to be 2 chambered at least because of a false septum, you can find that in mustard and argemone. Cool. Now you have free central placentation. What do you mean by free central placentation? They're just around here. Okay, so just remove the stalks over here, or basically the septum over here. You will be receiving something like this, where the ovary is attached to the central axis like this. This is known as free central placentation. No attachment. Okay, this is known as free central placentation. Where can you find it? In primrose and also dianthus. If at all, children, I could give out the pictures of all the things, I could have definitely done that. Okay, I would have definitely done, not could have, would have definitely done that. Okay, so with the limited time that you and me, both of us are having, and also because I cannot find all the pictures, my dear children, that's the only reason I didn't put. Wherever I could, I did put it. So please, you can do your own research also. Whenever you are getting bored of studies and all, just go through primrose, free central placentation and all. You might be probably surprised to see it, and it is kind of nice. Okay, you will start having a liking for this particular subject. Now basal placentation is also there, where now you are not looking from the top, you are having the side view. So there is an ovary, I am cutting from the side and I am saying, oh my god, there is only one ovule. There is only what? One ovule over here. So single ovule attached to the base of the ovary. So this is the ovary, my dear children, just like how I made it initially. So there is only one ovule that is attached to the base. This is known as basal placentation. Where do you find it? In sunflower and marigold. Both of them are flowers. Sunflower and marigold, beautiful flowers that you can see, my dear children. So we'll just have a quick wrap up. Yeah, how many types? What do you mean by placentation? Placentation is the arrangement of ovules within the ovary. This is known as placentation. Now different type of placentation. One is marginal placentation that you see in P, my dear children, where basically it's the placenta is going to form along a ridge, okay, around the ventral axis, my dear children, and the ovules are just placed in 2 rows. You can find it in P. Now we have axile placentation, where what is happening? Basically there is septum, there is an axis in between, and in between the septum you would be having what? Multiple ovule being formed over there. Now please remember, they are forming what? Multilocular ovary. You can find this in China rose, tomato, and then lemon as well. Okay, same lemon also when you cut, you can see it clearly. There is line like that, right? So those are septum that you have. Now you have parietal placentation, where basically it's easy. Parietal means basically towards the wall. So the ovule are arranged towards the wall. Okay, so it is usually one chambered, but may appear to be two chambered because of a false septum. You can find that in mustard and argemone, yes. Now you have free central placentation. Please forgive my pronunciation, okay. Free central placentation, where there is a central axis, there is no septum, and the ovules are arranged around the central axis. That's all. Okay. Now basal placentation is there, which is the easiest one, where the single ovule is there and it is attached to the base of the ovary. Okay. Obviously, there is a placenta over here, that is why it is attached. Okay. And example is sunflower and marigold. And with that, we cover placentation as well. Please go through these pictures, really important. Now, the fruit, okay. So we spoke about the flower and everything, stem, root, everything. Now we are coming to fruit. So what is a fruit? Fruit is what? A mature or ripened ovary. I told you, the ovary is there. In the ovary, you have the ovule. Ovule becomes the seed. Then what happens to the ovary? It becomes the fruit. Okay, so fruit is a mature or ripened ovary developed after fertilization. Usually it is developed after fertilization. In some plants, my dear children, before fertilization also, the ovary turns into a fruit. The ovary turns into a fruit. How does that happen? Basically because of some hormonal changes happening up there, this ovary will turn into a fruit. But in that case, fertilization has not happened. So do you think ovule becomes a seed? No, ovule does not become a seed, which is why these type of fruits, which are known as parthenocarpic fruits, my dear children, they are known as seedless fruits. Why seedless? Array, fertilization is not happening. How can seed be there without fertilization? You get it? So that condition is also there. Apomixis is a condition, right, where seeds are formed. I don't want to confuse you over here. Just for your understanding, parthenocarpic fruits are those which basically form without fertilization. Okay, so example, you have banana, seedless varieties of banana that you have. Now, in general, okay, let's just drop about parthenocarpic fruit. Let's just talk about the normal fruits that we have. So what is the general thing that we know? So a fruit basically contains of wall. This wall is known as pericarp. Okay, the outer wall of the fruit, basically the fruit's wall is known as pericarp. Okay, it can be dry or it can be fleshy. Now the pericarp that I have, or the fleshy pericarp that I have, I can divide into three parts. Suppose I am taking the example of mango over here. So mango, if you have seen, there is a yellow thing, the outer covering, right? This covering is known as epicarp. This is known as epicarp. And then the fleshy yellow thingy that we eat, what do you call that? What do you call that? Ma'am, that is what we call as mango. So basically this is known as mesocarp. Okay, this will be known as mesocarp, the fleshy part that we have. The outer thing, that is epicarp, that we just remove out, yeah. And then inside we have the mesocarp, that is a fleshy part. And then you might have seen there is a very tough thing. There is a very tough thing which is there. It is known as endocarp. Innermost thing is known as endocarp. Cool. Inside the endocarp, what will be there, my dear children? If this is a fruit, inside that you will be having what? Seed. Inside that you will be definitely having the seed. So inside that there is a seed. Seed will also have its seed coat and everything, but that is not of a concern now. We are talking about pericarp, that is the fruit wall. In the case of fleshy fruits, my dear children, you have these three things also: epicarp, mesocarp, and also endocarp. You can find it in what? In fruits, drupe fruits. Okay, you call them as drupe fruits or stone fruits. Okay, develops from monocarpillary superior ovaries and are one-seeded. What are drupe fruits, my dear children? They are the ones that basically are developing from monocarpillary. Monocarpillary means there is only one carpel. Okay, and you know what, the unique thing about them is that they have a superior ovary. What do you call this condition? Hypogynous condition. Okay, the ovary is what? Superior, and are one-seeded. They will be always one-seeded. That means there is only one ovule as well. Okay, there is only one ovule, the ovule converts into seed, right? So monocarpillary, and the carpel has probably one ovule, which is why it has become one-seeded, and they have superior ovaries, my dear children. Example is mango, where thin epicarp is there, fleshy mesocarp is there, and hard stony endocarp will be there. Okay. Now, one more thing, coconut is also an example. Now, coconut, ma'am, is it a fruit? Yes, it is a fruit. Whatever has a seed becomes a fruit, my dear children, right? Now, over here, how do you call it as a fruit? So, if you have seen a coconut, so coconut, basically there is a green outer thing. What do you call this as? You call this as epicarp of coconut, okay? Then there are fibrous things that we basically remove like this and this, right? What is that? What is that? So basically before doing that, I have to make an actual coconut over here. So the thing that you remove, okay, the fibrous thing that you remove will be known as the mesocarp. It is the mesocarp. Now where is the endocarp? The coconut shell that you see, my dear children, that becomes what? Your endocarp. That is the innermost thing that you have. Endo, is it visible? Yes, endocarp, and inside that you will be having your seed thingy and everything. So endocarp is the shelly thing that you have. Inside that also the seeds covering is there, so don't think that the entire coconut shell is the endocarp. No, it is not like that. Okay, so the inside of it will be the wall of the seed which is there. So I don't want to confuse you, but yeah, this is the thing that we have. So fibrous mesocarp is there instead of fleshy one over here. Okay, this is an example of drupe fruit, that is basically monocarpillary, that means single carpel, and one seeded because it has probably one ovule and it is superior ovaries. Okay, so this is a thing that you should be knowing about fruit according to your NCERT from this particular chapter. Now going ahead with the next thing, that is seed. Inside the fruit, what do you have? You have seed. Now the structure of seed, you have two types of seed. I told you there is dicot seed and there is a monocot seed, or basically dicot plant and the monocot plant. Both will be having their own seed. Dicots are the ones that will be having two cotyledons. So usually what happens is that we have an endosperm. Oh, just a second. We have what? Endosperm, and we have embryo. This is formed inside the seed, that is inside the ovule. So endosperm is the one that will be providing nourishment to the zygote to become what? The embryo. So I am removing this particular arrow. It helps the zygote to become an embryo, okay, within the ovule. So what happens is that when this formation happens, the embryo sometimes takes up all the endosperm and forms what? Two cotyledons, which would be helping itself for basically forming the shoot and root and everything. Sometimes it will be just taking a little bit amount of endosperm to form one cotyledon. In that case, you call it as monocot. But over here, since you are making two cotyledons, there won't be any endosperm left behind, my dear children. You will call this condition as what? Basically dicot condition, okay, or non-endospermic condition. What do you call this? Non-endospermic condition, and you also call this as non-albuminous. Non-albuminous seeds. Non-albuminous seeds, there is no endosperm persisting out there. Okay, now let's see the structure of how it is there. So seed also has a seed coat, I told you. Okay, seed will be having a seed coat. Basically there is an inner coat and outer coat. The inner coat is known as tegmen. It is known as tegmen, and the outer one will be known as testa. It is known as testa. So it is testing the resistance of the basically of the wall. Nothing can enter the testa. Okay, so testa is there, the outer wall, and the inner layer is known as tegmen. Cool. Now if you see a seed, my dear children, you will be able to see a scar on the seed. It is known as hilum. It will be known as hilum. So for understanding that, I have to go back to the ovary. So over here, suppose this is the ovary that we have, and this is the ovule that we have, and this is the placenta that we have. Suppose, okay. So I am making the placenta over here this time. Wait. This is the placenta, and the placenta is attached to the ovule. This structure you call this as funicle. What do you call? Funicle. And the place where it attaches, you call this as hilum. Okay, you call this as hilum. Now basically, my dear children, the ovule which is there, it has two integuments. One integument and the second integument, the inner integument, outer integument. This area which is open area, my dear children, you call this region as micropyle. And over here you would be having the cells of the, what do you call that, as the nucellus, and there is an embryo sac where basically the female gamete will be there. The female gamete will be there. Now this is the structure that is going to become a seed. This is the structure that is going to become a seed. What happens to the outer and inner integument? The inner integument transforms into tegmen. The outer one transforms into testa. Now when you have this as a seed, my dear children, you will be finding a small scar in the seed. In the seed, you will finding a small scar. What is this scar? This is hilum. And just above the scar, basically you would be seeing what? An opening, small opening. What is this opening? It will be what? A micropyle. It will be micropyle. So not like this, okay, not like the one that I made, but generally it looks fine. So a hilum is a scar where the seed was attached to the fruit, that is the ovary. Seed was attached to the ovary, that is a fruit, right? And micropyle is what? A small pore above the hilum for water absorption and everything. Seed also needs to survive, right? And for that it has to absorb water. So that is why you have a micropyle there. and usually actually it was for basically the entry of the male gamete so that it can fuse with the female gamete. Now you have two cotyledons, two and dicot, store food for the embryo, and embryonal axis is there. So in between the two cotyledons you have an embryonal axis, my dear children. So at this embryonal axis you will be having plumule which will give rise to the shoot, and a radicle which will be giving rise to the root, the future root. Now types of dicot seeds, endospermic seeds are there that have endosperm. Oh, just a second, it's not types of dicot seeds, wrong. So there are two type of seeds. One is endospermic seeds, such as which helps in food storage. You find this in monocots. These are monocots, and there are non-endospermic seeds, that is no endosperm, food stored in cotyledons, example bean, gram and pea. These are the examples of dicots. These are the examples of dicots, because bean, gram and pea, everything you can break into two. That means they have two cotyledons. I hope you get it. My dear children, always understand seed is nothing but the ovule. So whatever was there in the ovule will be there in the seed also somehow. And there will be obviously some changes because it has undergone fertilization now. So there will be some changes, but you have to think of that. Okay. So this is about a dicot plant, dicot seed. Okay, and they are non-endospermic or non-albuminous seeds because they do not have any endosperm left behind. Now talking about the monocot seed, what is unique about them? So most monocot seeds have an endosperm which stores food. Okay, they have endosperm which will be storing some amount of food, and they will be having their own cotyledon also. Please remember that. However, some like orchids do not have endosperm. So that is unique. Orchid, even after being a monocot, it does not have what? Endosperm left. Okay, that is why they will we will categorize under non-endospermic seed. But please remember, it is a monocot. It is not a dicot. It is a monocot, but it is an exception that you are having over there, such as orchid. Now, in cereals like maize, okay, monocot, the seed coat is thin and fused with the fruit wall. So the seed coat which is there, it is very thin and it is fused with the fruit wall that you are having. Now the endosperm is large and stores food for the growing plant. I hope you know that endosperm is there for that only. The protein rich layer called aleuron layer separates the endosperm from the embryo. Suppose this is the embryo that we are having. Okay, this is the endosperm that we are having. There is a layer that is over here which is known as aleuron layer. Okay, it is a protein rich layer that will be separating the endosperm from the embryo. What is this endosperm doing? Providing nourishment. Is there someone else to provide nourishment? Yes. What is that known as? Scutellum. So scutellum is also right over here which will be providing nourishment. Okay. So scutellum is nothing but the cotyledon. I told you monocots have one cotyledon. What is that cotyledon known as? It is known as scutellum. I know this might be too much for you to take in, but my dear children, there is no way that I can explain way too much over here. I will need a bit of your help also, but I am trying my level best. As I told you, in monocots, you just have one cotyledon, rest you have endosperm. So endosperm and the embryo that you have, my dear children, they are separate with the help of aleuron, which is a protein rich layer. And over here, if you're talking about the embryo, they have their own cotyledon, which is known as scutellum. So scutellum is a large sheet-shaped cotyledon that helps in absorbing nutrients from the endosperm. Now what is plumule? The future shoot. Okay, the plumule is what? Here also you will be having a plumule in the embryonal axis. So this is the embryonal axis over here. Okay, there you had an embryonal axis like this. Between the cotyledons you have an embryonal axis, but here it's not like that. So here the embryonal axis, my dear children, that you have, it will be also having plumule and radicle. Plumule will be giving rise to shoot and the radicle will be giving rise to shoot. Oh, sorry, root. Okay, and one more very important thing is that plumule is basically enclosed in a protective sheet over here, which is known as coleoptile. So there is a sheet over here above the plumule which is known as coleoptile. Okay, and I'll just zoom it in and show. So suppose this is the plumule. Above it, what do you have? You have coleoptile. Similarly, this is the radicle. Below it, what do you have? You have a protective layer which is known as coleorhiza. Ma'am, is there root cap? Root cap is also there. Below the radicle, you would be having a root cap as well. Okay, so coleoptile, optile, upper, okay, upper side, and coleorhiza is down. Okay, it has an arch, so basically it's towards the root. Okay, this is unique feature about monocots. No, dicots do not have coleorhiza and coleoptile. Fine. So basically, usually they are all endospermic, they are albuminous, but orchid is an exception, that is non-endospermic, my dear children. And in cereals like maize, what is happening? The seed coat is very thin, such that it is fused with the fruit wall itself, and they have an endosperm and also they have a cotyledon. The name of the cotyledon is known as scutellum. Okay, the endosperm and the embryo is totally divided into two segments with the help of a protein-rich layer that is known as aleuron layer. Okay, and over here they also have a plumule and a radicle. Plumule is covered by coleoptile and radicle is covered by coleorhiza. Works? Done. So we have monocot that is being done. Now my dear children, I don't know why I kept it as monocot seed, but this is what we are talking about. Floral diagram and its representation. Okay, so in floral diagram, what you have to take care of, what do you have to take? So first is habit. So habit, the general structure of the plant, that is in order of that only you are going to arrange the floral formula. Second is vegetative characters such as root, stem and leaves. How are they? Third one is floral characters inflorescence such as flower arrangement and flower parts. So floral diagram and floral formula, over here you have certain things just like mathematics or physics. You have to say what does G stand for. You should be knowing that. Okay, so BR stands for bracteate. Okay, it means bracteate. So there will be certain leaf bunch out there. Okay, there will be leaf, okay, below the flower that you have. In this condition you call this as bracteate condition. Usually you do not have it, but if at all you are having it, you call this condition as bracteate condition. It is represented by BR. Now K stands for calyx, that is the sepal that you are having. Okay, K will be standing for calyx. You will be finding it really easy to learn, my dear children. Trust me, wait for some time. Now you have C for corolla, that is basically the petals. P means perianth, that means if calyx and corolla are not distinct, you put this condition as P. A stands for androecium, that is male part. G stands for gynoecium, that is female part. If below the G you have a dash, that means there is a dash on the top of which the G is there, that means it is superior ovary. Okay, it is what? Superior ovary. And the ulta, the opposite, the G is below the dash, it is known as inferior ovary. It is inferior ovary. In this condition you say it is a male flower, in this condition you say it's a female flower. If you have both, you call this as a bisexual flower. Okay, if there is a cross like that, it means that it is actinomorphic. Actinomorphic means you can basically cut the flower into any into equal halves from any plane which passes through the center. It is also known as radial symmetry. Okay, you might have studied in animal kingdom, right? Now over here, when this comes, that means it is zygomorphic. That means it shows bilateral symmetry, as in you can cut only through one plane into equal halves. Okay, now fusion is shown by this. Basically, for example, I am saying all the petals are fused together. So I will say 5 petals are there, 5 petals are fused, then I have to put bracket. Okay, and if I am showing a condition like this, basically that means 2 things are together. For example, androecium and the perianth. Okay, so you see, I told you the stamen is basically fused to what? The perianth. You will call this condition as epiphylous condition. So how do you show it? By putting a line like that. Trust me, you will get to understand things more when I actually explain this. Now floral diagram visually represents what? The flower part arrangement, that is calyx is the outermost, then gynoecium at the center. You will get to know that. And number of the floral parts, the relation between different parts, and also the mother axis position. For example, mother axis position, as in you are talking about this. The flower is over here like this, there is an axis and then you have a flower, or basically you have an axis, then it has a branch and then it has a flower. This is what mother axis means. Okay, it is represented with the help of a dot. Now over here I have an example of floral diagram for Brassicaceae family. Okay, so over here what do you see? This is the outermost layer that you see over here. It is nothing but the calyx. And calyx is shown as 2 plus 2. What do you mean by 2 plus 2? So 2 of them are out and 2 of them are basically inside. This is what you mean by 2 plus 2. Okay, 2 plus 2. They are kind of overlapping. Now going ahead, we have this thing, that is the corolla. Corolla is 4. How do you know that? 1, 2, 3, 4. There is 4 corolla. Are they fused, my dear children? No, they are basically either tip to tip, they are there, tip to tip, they are there. So I'll call this condition as C4. Now I have androecium 2 plus 4. Androecium 2 plus 4, as in 2 of them are outside and basically 1, 2, 3, 4 are inside. This is 2 plus 4 condition. Then you have gynoecium. Okay, then you would be having gynoecium. Just give me a second, children. So where was I? Yeah, so this condition is known as gynoecium. Gynoecium is having a superior ovary. Okay, there is a superior ovary, which is why dash is below and then G is there. And you see there are 2 carpels. Okay, there is 2 gynoecium. That is why 2 is being mentioned over here. And 2 of them basically they are fused. 2 of them basically they are fused, which is why they are put it inside the bracket. Okay, they are put inside the bracket. And now if you see over here, it is bisexual flower. That means it has both the androecium as well as the gynoecium. Yes, you know that. And my dear children, plus sign here in around means that they are actinomorphic. They are actinomorphic. That means they can be cut into equal halves through any plane which is there. Okay, so this is an example of Brassicaceae family, my dear children. Please remember the floral formula. It will be really important for you to know that. Okay, so what is it? It is actinomorphic, it is bisexual. There are calyx, how many? Basically calyx is made up of 4 sepals, 2 outside, 2 inside. 2 outside, my dear children, and 2 inside. And then you would be having 1, 2, 3, 4 corolla which are represented by C4. Okay, which are represented by C4, and then you have an androecium, that is 2 plus 4 condition, 2 of them are outside and 4 of them are basically inside. Okay, then you have a gynoecium with a superior ovary, my dear children, that is above the level, it is hypogynous condition, right? And over here the gynoecium, basically the carpels are fused together, which is why it is 2, and then there is a bracket over here. Okay, I hope you got it. Now in your book you have one more example, that is of Solanaceae family. And who all do you have in the Solanaceae family, my dear children? You call it as potato family. Okay, so common name is potato family. Distribution found in tropical, subtropical and temperate regions. Example is potato, tomato, brinjal, chili, tobacco and petunia. Please remember the examples. Okay, what is it? Potato, tomato, brinjal, chili, tobacco and petunia. You should be avoiding tobacco, rest everything probably you can remember. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Please remember everything is equally important over here. Okay, you can get the example. You might be asked in which family do they belong. What is a floral diagram for this? You should be knowing it. So plant type, it is mostly herbs, but it can be shrubs and rarely it can be small trees. Very rarely it can be small trees. Stem, it is usually herbaceous, rarely woody, can be aerial, that is above the ground, or can be underground, as in the case of potato that you are having. Okay, so mostly they are herbs or shrubs and very rarely they can be small trees. If you talk about the stem, it is mostly herbaceous, rarely woody and can be aerial, that is above the ground, or underground, that is in potato. And solid or hollow, may have hairs or may be smooth. Leaves, if you talk about them, it is alternate arrangement, that means on the node, over here, then over here, then over here, then over here. Simple or rarely pinnately compound leaves. Pinnately compound leaves matlab, you know, right? The leaflets basically, they are like this. The leaflets, if you see, they are like this. They would be having a common axis that is known as ridges. Okay, so it will be like that. Simple or rarely pinnately compound. Mostly they are simple, or it can be rarely pinnately compound as well, not palmately, it is pinnately compound. No stipules are there, that is why it is known as exstipulate condition. Okay, stipules means basically, I hope you remember, if you think of a leaf base, my dear children, the leaf base, small leaf like structures are there which is known as stipules. So they are exstipulate. They have reticulate venation, that means if you talk about the leaf will be having sub branches, lateral branches, lot of things, so sorry, veinlets over here. Okay, so that is known as reticulate venation. So alternate arrangement of leaves are there. Alternatively they are arranged, my dear children, they are not opposite, alternatively they are arranged. Okay, they can be having simple leaves, okay, where there is no incision, nothing. Okay, they can be having simple leaves, or it can be pinnately compound, but it is very rare. No stipules are there, that is why it is exstipulate, and reticulate venation is also found in the case of Solanaceae family. Now talking about the floral diagram, which looks like this. So what do you understand from the floral diagram? Let's go and check that first. So over here, first this sign, that means they are actinomorphic. They are actinomorphic. Now over here, the plus and this sign, that means they are bisexual. It has both the male and the female parts. As you can see over here, it has both the male as well as the female part. Now calyx over here, 5 of them are mentioned. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means sepals are 5 in number. And what about the sepals? If you see the diagram, they are all together. They are kind of fused. So what do you call this condition as? Fused condition. How do you represent it? By putting it inside a bracket. So 5 and then you put it inside a bracket. Okay. Now talking about the corolla. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corolla. Corolla as in we are basically talking about the petals. What about the petals? Here also you can see that they are fused. So how do you put it? Inside the bracket. Inside the bracket. Now you see a thing going like that. What do you think? What does this mean? That is, the corolla and the androecium, basically they are fused. That means the stamen that you see, stamen is attached to the petals, my dear children. What do you call this condition as? You call this condition as epipetalous condition. Remember, epipetalous condition. So that means they are fused over here. And how many androecium is there? How many stamens are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are they fused together? No, they are not fused together, which is why they are not inside a bracket. Okay. Now talking about the gynoecium, they are basically, it's represent that there is superior ovary is there, and again you have 2 carpels, my dear children, and 2 of them basically they are fused. They are fused over here, and as you can see over here, they basically have an axile placentation. There is a septum dividing them. So they have an axile placentation. Okay, pure pakka septum is there, that means axile placentation. Okay, now we are going to see. So inflorescence, they are solitary single flowers, or they can be cymose, that is clustered flowers also, not racemose inflorescence, cymose inflorescence, where they have a terminal flower at the top. Okay, and they show basipetal succession. Basipetal succession means the older flowers will be at the top and the younger flowers will be at the bottom level. Okay, now flowers, the type bisexual, as I told you. Symmetry is actinomorphic, that is radial symmetry also. Calyx, 5 sepals are there, they are all united or fused. Persistent, that is remains attached to the fruit always. If you have seen tomato, the calyx will be still there. Okay, now valvate aestivation, sepals just touch, do not overlap. If you have seen over here, they are not overlapping, they are just touching. Okay, that is valvate aestivation. Okay, corolla, 5 petals are there united. Here also they are showing valvate aestivation. Again, they are basically touching, not overlapping each other. Androecium, male part, 5 stamens are there, they are epipetalous, that means they are attached to the petals. Gynoecium, female part, 2 carpels are there, bicarpellary condition, yeah, and fused, that means they are syncarpous. They are showing what? Syncarpous condition when the carpels are fused. Superior ovary is there above the floral parts, yeah, and bilocular. You can see basically the locule is divided into 1 and 2 with one say septum over there, right? So over here, axile placentation, ovules attached to what? A central column, and you have a septum. Fruit type, my dear children, it can be berry or it can be capsule, you have to remember it. And seeds, it can be numerous, endospermous, that means it has endosperm over it, yeah. It is rich in stored food, so it is endospermous, please remember that as well. Solanaceae family, this is what you need to remember. Please go through this diagram really well, you will be able to solve it, just understand once. Okay, this floral formula, you have to write it and learn it, both of Brassicaceae and this. Cool? Works? And the economic importance of Solanaceae family is food crops. Potato, tomato and brinjal, you eat it, right? And spices, chili, you use it as spices. Medicinal uses, belladonna, ashwagandha, they are all coming under Solanaceae family only. So they are used in Ayurveda. Fumigation, my dear children, tobacco is used for smoking. And ornamental plants, petunia, it is used in the gardens. Okay, so these are the things that you should be definitely knowing. Just give me a second, I'll be telling you an example of one more. Yes, that's all. And Brassicaceae example is mustard plant. Okay, what is it? Brassicaceae. Yeah, over here the example would be mustard. Why it went off? Now, I'll tell you one more very important thing. As of now also, you might not be feeling very confident because of big terms in there, my dear children. But please remember one thing, you will get that confidence when you solve the questions. When you solve the questions, you would be able to solve a lot of them, and that's how you're going to build confidence in this particular chapter. So please keep on solving, and I'll be also bringing up certain questions, okay, together in the top 30 PYQ thing, okay, PYQ no MCQ thing. So you will be getting to know more about it, but I think I could help you in at least a small way of making you understand at least certain things which you might have thought that you might have would be never understanding. So in that case, definitely let me know, and also do let me know if you have any doubts regarding this particular chapter. I take it on priority to answer to all your doubts and things, okay. So definitely do not hinder away from asking doubts, and my dear children, you are going to ace the examination. Do not worry about anything. Please study this chapter and go once. Okay, all the chapters that I'm doing complete one shot videos, that means they are going to be really important. So take them on priority. Yeah, works. And also, yeah, that's all. Wishing you all the best, and if you have not taken the Abhyas KCET test series, definitely do not forget to take it. It's really important for question practice, the ones that I was talking about, yeah. And do not forget to like, share and subscribe. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.